I'm very excited about this video because I want to show you how to leverage N8N automation tool with AI coding tools. In this case, we're going to be using Bolt.new to build applications. But the idea here is that I want to show you how you go from creating these backends using N8N and then leveraging AI coding tools to match together and then have an application that actually works. By the end of this video, you're going to be able to build a workflow using N8N as a backend and then use that to connect with your front end, which you're going to be building using AI tools, AI coding tools. So the application we're going to be building is what I call AI Stylist, your personal fashion assistant. Now, this is not a novel idea. I'm sure there are so many apps there that do exactly that, but I thought this would be a good exercise, a good starting point for you to understand N8N, even if you've never touched N8N, and understanding how to match this together, whether you're a programmer or somebody who is a non-coder. Imagine that you want to go out to a party or to go meet with investors or whatever it is that you're doing. I don't judge. So you want to know, okay, what should I wear? But you have certain pieces of clothes that are lined up, but you want to know, okay, how do I combine all these pieces of clothing so that I look professional or I look good or casual, whatever the occasion is. And this is what AI Stylist does. It helps people dress well and confidently. So you come in and you upload your photos. So click here and I'm going to go ahead and pick a nice photo here of a t-shirt that's red, and you can see it was uploaded. Now the cool thing here, what will happen, I'm going to add tell me a little bit about my style needs. I'm going to say I am going out, friends, and will be meeting new people, and so I want to look nice. Please help. So what will happen now, I have this description and I have an image of one piece of clothing that I have. I'm going to go ahead and say, get my style advice. So this is the workflow that is going to do all the work. Now there's a lot of stuff here. No worries if this is foreign to you because I'm going to show you how to put this together. Now if you want to go deeper and learn more about N8N and anything related to AI, how to create automations, but not only about automation, but understanding AI so that you can serve your business or create applications and all of that, whether you're a developer or a non-developer, I would like to invite you to AI Foundations. This is the community by these two brothers who are amazing people. I've met them about a couple months ago and we've been good friends. We've been working together now and I'm actually part of this community, helping this community grow because I believe in it. So this community has a lot of things. You can go to classrooms, you can learn about large language models, you can learn about mastering agents with N8N, which is the tool we're going to be using in this video. And also, by the way, they asked me to create this vibe coding agents to apps, which allows you to understand how to create agents with any tools you want, but specifically using N8N, and then creating application from creating agents to deploying full-fledged applications with authentication and of course payments with Stripe. So all of that, this is an amazing course that I'm very glad that they asked me to do because it was fun and it has been received very well. So if you want to get more into N8N and this AI world where you're non-coder or a coder, this is a good place to be. So go ahead and check the link in the description to join us. So going back here, you can see that we have this AI Stylist workflow. So I'm going to execute this workflow. This is the webhook. So you can see now it says execute workflow. It's waiting for you to call the test URL. So now if I come here, this is when I'm going to be able, because I've added all the pieces I needed, right? I'm going to go and say get style advice, and if I go back here, you can see this is working all in the background. It's calling an AI agent, OpenAI chat model, so it's doing all these things, pulling all the pieces together, and then goes through the process of generating the actual image. So what we're doing here, we're posting a request to OpenAI API to generate images, and then once that is done, we should convert that image into a different format, which is going to be easy to then save that image. There are lots going on here. Save that image into a Superbase database as a storage file. And once that happens, you can see that indeed some code was run as well, and then it will respond to webhook, which means at this point here, if I go back here, voila, you can see we have this style visualization. From that image, the red t-shirt, it gave me an image of how I should look depending on, of course, based off what I added earlier here. And most importantly, of course, this is a stylist. It's going to tell me the styling recommendation so that I'm not lost. Okay, so based on the plain red t-shirt you already have and your upcoming outing with friends where you'll be meeting new business people, here's a stylish yet approachable outfit suggestion to ensure you look nice. Gives me all the recommendations and all of that. Also, evaluation, colors, formality, and fit. This is actually good for me because my sense of style is not that great. That's why I always wear black shirts. So this is what I'm going to show you how to build. Now, again, if you're a coder, even better. If you're not, that's also great because I'm going to show you how to leverage AI to build all of this, whether you know how to code or not. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing you need to do, of course, is to go ahead and create an N8N account. It's very simple. Just go to N8N and create an account. They give you 14 days free. Now, if you already have N8N, that's wonderful. So once you have N8N, go through the process of creating, of course. This is what you most likely will see. Now, I have a few other things that I've run before, such as this AI Stylist final. This is what I have already created before I showed you here. Okay, so that's what we're going to recreate. But we're going to go from scratch. Go ahead and say create workflow. So this is going to allow you to create the workflow that you want. Add a node. So essentially this workflow, the idea is that we have nodes that are connecting to each other, that once we trigger, something happens, we're going to go down the nodes, right? Down the workflow, and things will happen. That is part of automation, which is really cool. Now, I know some of you may be programmers and this may be some things like, why would I even want to use this? Well, I'm going to show you, and that is the beauty of leveraging AI tools. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do here is add a first step or first node. The first node, I'm going to click here, and you want to go and find a trigger. Okay, we use a trigger as a webhook. The idea of a webhook is that it is thinking of something that is reactive and waiting to connect with something. So I'm going to look for web hook like this. So I'm going to click this webhook, and there we go. Once you do that, you can see right away this thing happen. Now, if you are new to N8N, then this may be a little bit strange, but it's not that hard. So what's happening here is that, well, first of all, we have these parameters, as you can see, and we have test URL and production URL. We're going to focus on the test URL. So this was generated just now. What we want to be able to do is we're going to be changing the HTTP method between get or from get to post, because we want this to receive something and do something afterwards. Okay, and so now I'm going to put here / I'm going to say upload, because I want to have a URL that just looks something like this. Okay, so remember, this URL is going to be different than yours because it depends on what you added when you're creating this account. But what's important is that you have that. Now, if I go back, you can see, there we go. Now I'm going to double click again and go back here. You can see authentication, respond. Now this is important. I'm going to change this respond. Instead of immediately, I'm going to go and say respond to webhook node. What does it mean? It means as we go down and do things from node A to node B and so forth, we want to pull information back, response back to this webhook. And this is particularly important for cases when we want to get a JSON response, a response which we can use to display something on the front end, which we're going to be seeing. Now, once we have that here, we kind of leave everything as is. So I'm going to click, and here's the cool thing about all of this. There are many different ways to get started with these webhooks, but because I'm going to show you how you would leverage AI tools, AI coding tools, along with these kinds of tools, AI automation tools, N8N in this case, so that you can start building backend. So this is going to be the backend to our AI Stylist application. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and use Bolt.new as my AI coding tool. You can use whatever you want, but I just want to show you how quickly you can go from prototyping to start building something that is actually good. First of all, I'm going to go change this name to say AI Stylist app. Okay, you can change by just clicking there, and voila, that's changed. I want to add something else after that. So once we get whatever we are getting, this is the webhook that we are going to trigger. And then once we get some information, as we'll see in a little bit, I want to do something with it. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a webhook. Just start typing webhook, and I want this respond to webhook, which, as you see, returns data for webhook. Click there, and I'm going to change this to say I want to get everything. In fact, I just go ahead and say all incoming item, pull everything and post it back. That's all I'm doing here. Okay, so we have a very simple workflow here. I'm going to go ahead and save. Now, how do I test this? Ooh, this is the beautiful part. So if I click here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. In fact, you just click and you can see URL was copied. It's very convenient. And as I said before, I'm going to go ahead and use Bolt.new. You can get it and use it for free. They give you a lot of credits to get started. But again, if you want to use any other AI vibing coding tool out there, that is fine as well. So here we go, Bolt.new. It may change depending on when you're watching this, but I'm going to start a new thing here. So I'm going to get started by saying, so you can see here, I said, given the following N8N webhook, and I passed or paste the actual URL webhook. I'm going to say, I need you to build a simple upload page where users can upload image or images. Image is probably fine. And then pass that to the webhook as a payload, which will include the binary file name data. Now, this is important here. We'll see why I'm specifying the file name and all of that. So I'm going to go ahead and say enter, and this is what you see. So now Bolt.new is going to go ahead and start doing what it does, writing the code, front-end code, which will interact with the backend. So give it a minute, and we should hopefully see something decent. Right, so as you can see, it's going ahead and go through the whole process. I'll create a beautiful production-ready image upload interface and create initial files and install dependencies and all of that, and even started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here to open in a separate tab so you can see the full application. So I'm going to say connect to app. This is better so you can see everything. And look at that. So we have all of this. Let's see what will happen here. I'm going to see if I can upload something and see what will happen. Now, for this to work, I need to go back here and I can click listen to events, or I can just go back and just say execute, or click here, execute workflow. This needs to happen to say, okay, this webhook is now ready to receive something. Let's test it out, okay? See if this actually works. So I'm going to go ahead and choose a file, and I'm going to upload just an image as such, and go ahead and say upload. And let's see if this works. You can see, voila, it actually works. That's why we have all these greens. Now, if I double click here, I want to show you what's really happening. Actually, it's hard to see. Let me go back here. I'm going to click on this second one here. Now, a few things are happening here. You can see that we have this file name, which is the screenshot with the file extension and everything. This is the input for this node. This is the beauty of N8N, is that this shows exactly how it works. So in the middle here, this is the actual node and receives an input. That's why input, and there is the output. Now I'm zoomed in, it's hard to see everything. If I zoom out a little bit, you can see better. Okay, so in the middle here, this is where we have all the settings, parameters, so we can see and start working with what comes in and what goes out as output for the next node. So you can see here we have this webhook and we have different schema, table, JSON. These are different ways in which we can see what's happening, the inputs and outputs. So let's start with, I would say, schema. So you can see in this webhook, right, this is the actual node and the headers are coming in, all that information. If I go to the binary, you can see this is the binary, the image that we uploaded. If I say view, I should see indeed that image. Great, so it works. This is great. Now, because the way this works, we have respond to webhook. This returns something which is going to be exactly the same as this. But if I go to JSON here, you can see this is different formats of the same thing, right? We have binary, just shows the actual binary. JSON gives us more of what really was passed along. Now let's think about what we want to happen. What we want to happen is that once the upload happens, we also want to include some sort of a description of whatever is that we are passing. Because the idea of this application is to be able to pass some descriptions to say, hey, help me with my style. I have this item that I could wear. Just help me. I just need to be styled. Okay, so what I can do, I can go back to Bolt.new because I know now that this is actually working, right? If I go back here, the canvas all are green and everything is working. So the item is being passed along. What I want to do is I want to prompt Bolt.new to tell me, okay, I need to make sure that you add some sort of a description so that the users are able to add a description, which then we're going to process along with the image to pass downstream so that the AI can help us. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to say, okay, this works now for payload. Now for the payload send, because that's what's being sent, include a description field which will contain the user's description of what they want to describe. Okay, let's go ahead and enter or send that out. Okay, so after a few moments, you can see that we have a description of what was done. New feature, description text area. Very good. Let's just go ahead and refresh this real quick and reconnect and see. That looks very good. So now we have this description area where we can add a description and then pass an image. Now let's see what will happen if we do the same thing. So I'm going to say, I need help with my style. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same and get that t-shirt there. I could get something else, but I don't have much. So let's upload. Is it going to fail? Why? Because you always have to come back here and say execute workflow. Okay. There we go. So let's go back here and I'm going to clear all and go pick up another image. Let's do this one now. Okay, let's upload and come back here. You can see that upload worked. Very good. Now I'm going to go click on the respond and go to schema and see what else goes in. So you can see we have all these pieces of information. Everything is working, but you can see now we have a description which is being shown here. Okay, this is the payload. You can see body description, which is that. And I can make it better so you can see better. Go to JSON format and we can go all the way down. And you can see body description. I need help with style. This is great. That means that is the input for the respond to webhook. Now, this is not very helpful, but at least we're seeing that things are working, right? And the image, if I go back to table, or rather, let's go back to a different format, make this smaller, binary. You can see we still have the actual binary image that goes through the respond to webhook. Now, this is, of course, not the endpoint. What I want to be able to do is I want to take, first of all, the image, this image that we are uploading, along with the information, the image description, and pass that through OpenAI, through a large language model, so that it can extract information about the image and hopefully take those pieces of information, the description, the captioning of that image, which will then help us along with the description that we're passing, the user are passing, to generate a good recommendation. Okay, so for that, of course, you will need to have OpenAI API key. You should have an OpenAI account and create a key. Okay, OpenAI key. Now, the other thing you need to keep in mind is that for what we're going to be doing next or later in this video, you will need to have your account verified, your organization verified. So if you go to your account, OpenAI API, OpenAI account, open an account if you don't have one. You go to your settings, you go to general, you have API keys, but in general here, you want to go to organization ID. This is mine, don't use it. And then here you need to verify your account. This is very important, not for what we're going to be doing right now, but for later. So might as well do it now. So I'm already verified. Just click on verify your organization, which will give you instructions to go and verify yourself by taking pictures of our ID and all of that. So if you want to get to the point later where things actually will work on your end as well, make sure you do this. Okay, and I will remind you again. Okay, so what we want to do is create API keys. So it's very simple. You can go ahead and go to API keys, say create API key, give it a name, you can select a project, doesn't matter, and create that secret. Okay, it's very easy. get that secret and hide somewhere safe. So back to N8N, right between webhook and respond to webhook, I'm going to go ahead and click this here, right? This is a plus, click, and I'm going to look for OpenAI. So if you click OpenAI, it's got a lot of action. So what I want to do here is I want to go and get analyze image. Okay, so click on analyze image action. Click there, and here's what happens. You can see right away things are a little bit easier for me because I've already done this. So you can see that I have these credentials that are already set up and I can connect to. So in your case, you probably won't have this. What you have to do is create a new credential. So what you do is very simple. You go ahead and add that API key that I just showed you. That's all you need to do. And you don't even have to add the organization ID. You can add if you want. So, but add that API key and hit save. Once you do that, you're going to be able to then drop down and get something like this, OpenAI account 1 or 2 or just 1. Okay, that's what I'm using here. And then once you do that, if the connection worked out fine, you can click here. You can choose the resource that you want from OpenAI account. In this case, you want image. So make sure it's image. And then you want to go ahead and from model, from list here, you can choose the model. So click here and you want to go ahead and find, I'm going to use this ChatGPT for all latest. And the next thing is then we need to pass the text input. This is what is that we want the image to be about. I'm going to come to that in a second. But next, let's go to input type. Image URL. If you click here, we have image URL or binary files. In this case, we want a binary file. Why? Because this is exactly what we have coming in. So you said binary file. And importantly here, you want this to be data because you can see the name of any binary file that is coming in is also data. So if you have something different here, you have to add exactly the same here so that it knows what to pull in. Okay, that's about it. So what I'm going to do now here, just to show that this actually works, for the text input here, I'm going to add what I already have. So I'm going to make this a little bit larger by pulling this down like this. So what I want this to do is what is in this image? That's the question. So and then I say, give me all the colors, the style, and the kind of clothes in the image. Now, this is not great. So I actually went ahead and improved this a little bit to make it better. So in this case, it says analyze this image and describe its contents in detail, list all the visible colors, including dominant and accent tones, identify the style or aesthetics, and some examples, formal, streetwear, and all of that. Then describe each visible clothing item, including type and all of that. Be thorough but concise, focus only on what can be visually observed in the image. So this is way, way better. Okay, very good. So now we have this node here that should help us. So if I go back to Canvas, you can see that right after the webhook, the next thing is pulling that information into our OpenAI, okay, which is analyze image. Now the cool thing also, I double click there, you can see that I can actually change this to say OpenAI analyze image, just to make it better and consistent. Okay, so go back, you can see now this whole thing says analyze image. Okay, now we can test things out. So the cool thing here, because this has ran before, because that's why it's green, we can actually, because if you click here, you can see we have actually, let's go back here. Maybe let's run this one more time. Okay, I'm going to save this and run this one more time. So make sure you say execute workflow so that the webhook is ready to go. Come down here. I'm going to just refresh this real quick. Okay, so I'm going to say, help me with how and what to wear tonight. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. Choose files. I'm going to just do one. And go down here, upload all. Even though there's just one, you can see that this is running. So it's hitting the OpenAI analyze image, and voila. This is beautiful. So if I double click on the OpenAI, you can see now it pulled in the actual data image because that's what we said it to do, data, this guy here, and it's a binary file because it is indeed a binary file. And look at this, we have the actual content, right? See content, this is all the information that we are getting from OpenAI, from our large language model, which analyze the image that we pass. So if you can see, it says analysis. visible colors, dominant colors, deep red, and all these things, aesthetic, and all of things. So this actually is great because it was grounded based on what we added in the text input. Okay, so now we have the full information. So if I go to webhook here, you can see brings in the same information, the content, and outputs that. So this is what it's output somewhere else. If we wanted to show in our user interface, we could actually do that. Now, the cool thing also is that if you go to JSON, again, it tells you exactly how this JSON looks like. So we have content, it gives me all of that. So let me show, I'm going to just copy all of this, the output, and then I'm going to go to Bolt.new and I'm going to say, this is the JSON payload returned from the web hook. Like that. And I'm going to say, please parse the content field and show in the user interface. Make sure to format the text correctly, or to correctly format the text, doesn't matter. Okay, so I just wanted to check it out to see, because that will be receiving as a response, because that's what we said here. That's what's happening. That's why we have this respond to webhook. So now I want it so that the application, the front end, is able to receive that information and show us in our user interface here. Let's see. Let's go ahead and check it out. Let's refresh. So at this point, let's go back here. Remember, say execute flow so that we don't forget. And we're going to do the same thing. Help me with styling. I think that would work. Let's take a different one this time. Okay, let's go analyze. So it's going to go ahead and analyze and do all the things. And hopefully the response now is going to be shown. Okay, view analysis, click, and voila. You can see that it gives us the full analysis. So this is the response that we receive from the webhook, which is exactly this. This is wonderful. I hope you're getting excited and you're seeing how we can leverage N8N and agents, which we haven't created yet, to build an entire application, right? So in this case, we're just leveraging all the tools that we can find. Doesn't matter if you're a coder or not. So if you want to go deeper into this, remember, you can go to AI Foundations, and I have this awesome course that they allowed me to create for the community, vibe coding agents into apps, where I go way deeper into all of this. So come on in and join this vibrant community with many people from many different walks in life who are focused on building AI-based application and learn more about AI, whether they're developers or non-developers. Everybody's learning here. This is actually working, and that's really cool. Now let's go back to what we have created here. So the whole point here, now we know that we have the analysis, so the extraction, analyzing of the image is working. That's why we get the actual response, which is what we want. So next, what we need to do is we need to be able to combine the description, the image description that the user have entered, along as what was extracted from the image, the captioning of that image. That's what's called. So for that, I'm going to add a new node here. This is going to be edit. So we're going to go and get this set, this edit fields. So this is where we can modify, add, or remove item fields. So as you see, I'm going to just call this maybe combine data. Okay, you can name whatever you want. So you can see here, I'm going to go back here. You can see this is right after the analysis of the image. So what we'll do is we're going to pull in the description as well as the contents we got from the analysis or the captioning of that image. So I'm going to click here. You can see that now the beauty here is that I can drag and drop fields that will need to be combined or will need to be put together. Pull this, you can just click this content here, pull all the way and drop here. So what you can see happens is that it's able to pull all of this information, which you can see now as the value here. So now I can pass that information along. Now, the next thing I want to pull is not here. I want to go back to webhook, right? The main webhook. I can click here and you can see the webhook has a lot of things, but what I want all the way down, make this a little bit larger so you can see, all the way down, you can see that I want to go and get the description here, which comes from body, right? Object, and get the description, which is the description that was sent over from the user interface, from the front end. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy, click here, drag and drop. So now you can see, goes ahead and say webhook, which is the whole payload, item.json, body, and get the description. So this is what you need to do. So now from here, I can actually execute this, and we'll see the output is going to be now this JSON file. It has those pieces, has body, description, and then it has the content. So I can perhaps look at different ways to see this. You can see I have content, this payload JSON, which is everything, right, about the image analysis. And then we should have at the bottom here the body.description. Very good. So I come back here. You can see that even if I were to run, the same thing would happen. If I click here, you can see the input to our respond to webhook is going to be all of this. I need to add something else, right? We're going down this stream here. Webhook, analyze image. We combine those two pieces that we need, and then we're returning everything to the webhook. But we want to add something else because we want to pull all this information and then pass that through an agent of some sort or a large language model to process further. So I'm going to click here. As you can see, I can add a node. So I'm going to add another node here. Let's just say AI, or just say agent. So click on agent. Now this AI agent here allows us to pass in some information. So what I'm going to change here, instead of connect chat trigger, I want define below. Well, now what that means is that I can define the prompt for this agent to be able to know, to be grounded, to know, okay, this is what I need to be doing. I already have all the prompt here, and I'm going to go and get it so that you don't have to suffer through me typing. So let me go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to click here, and this makes it a little bit larger. You can see a few things happen. So it says here, you are a highly intelligent and friendly fashion stylist. Your job is to help clients dress well for specific occasions based on two sources of input. So number one, clothing details extracted from images. Now, where is this information being pulled in? Well, from JSON.content. So essentially, I just pulled that in like this. Okay, that's somewhere else, but you get the idea. So I'm going to Control Z. So that's how you start pulling in pieces that you want to pass in as this runs, okay, as placeholder. And then the client style request or occasion description is from JSON body description. Well, that comes in from this description here. So I literally pull that in and add there. You can see the same thing happens. So that's what we're doing. So we are grounding our AI agent to say, do this and pull in pieces of information that we'll get from this payload here. One other thing we need to do here, because we want to make sure that this agent is able to do some chatting. So we can chat with it and it's able to then give us some information back once it's done what it's done. So you can see here, you can see it says chat model. In fact, if I go all the way back, you can see an agent always has a chat model. We can pass in memory and as well tools. So we're going to pass the chat model here. If you click, I can go ahead and pass different kinds of chat models. I'm just going to be consistent and use OpenAI. So I'm going to say chat. I think I can just say yes. There we go. OpenAI chat model. Click, and there we go. Now, because you've already done this by now, credentials to connect with OpenAI account, you should have something like that. You can drop down and find it. Then you're all done. All you have to do is choose a model. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and choose 4.0 mini. You can choose whatever you want. Okay, so now we have attached the actual chat model, which is able to converse internally with the agent, have this conversation that happens, and get us the results that we want. Okay, let's go ahead and save this. Let's see what will happen. If I double click, and I'm going to execute this node, this step. So it's going to go and execute the step, our AI agent we just created, and we should get some results. Okay, there we go. So you can see, sure, given the vibrant, bright green sleeveless A-line dress, which is exactly what we passed along, and it knows it's giving us all the pieces that we need. So essentially, it's giving all of the description that it needs, even jewelry, this bangle or cuff bracelets, I don't even know what that is, and all of that. So this agent is the one that is going to pull all the pieces of information that we've been passing along to generate the actual recommendation. So now you can see how cool this is. So we have a backend that combines the data that received the analysis of the image and all of that, and combines all of that, and we prompt it, grounded it to say, this is what you know. You're going to pull all these pieces here that we combine together to give us a sense of style and how to dress. And that's what we have. So if I go back here, you can see that now if I execute this step, it's going to pull the same information that we have here, as you see, from previous, because that's all this does, respond to webhook. So now if I were to run go test in front here, I would probably get some issues when it comes to the format in which these are responding. So if you look at the actual latest format of our JSON, maybe it's smaller, you can see that now all we have is the actual output. Okay, so I'm going to copy all of it, and I need to come back here and update. So I'm going to say the response payload has dated, and I'm going to paste the whole payload so that now we can say, okay, when you receive the response back, if you want to show everything, we just have the output field like this. So I'm going to say, make sure to parse the output field to get the full AI Stylist recommendation and show in the UI. Okay, this is very important because earlier the inputs, the outputs were different, the structure of the JSON. So let's see. All right, looks like it updated everything, update response parsing, very good, enhanced formatting and all that. Let's go ahead and test it out. Refresh. I need to go to a work party tonight and I need to look sharp and respectful. All right, let's go ahead and add an image. Use that one. Okay, make sure again to come back here and I'm going to execute the workflow to make sure that this actually works, as you know. Style. So everything is running, hopefully, analyzing the image and going through the AI agent. This is very good. So, and should have a response by now. So click here, view styling recommendation. Look at that. For your work party tonight, your plain red short sleeve t-shirt can serve as a great foundation piece. Let's build stylish and sharp outfit while ensuring it's appropriate for work setting and all of that. Okay, now formatting is a little bit not great, but that is something that we can do later. But at least you can see that we're leveraging N8N as a back-end workflow, which is going to feed our front end. I haven't written not even one piece of code. Okay, now that I have all this information, if I double click here, you can see that the contents that we get, the analysis, is a lot. So what we want to do next is we want to be able to extrapolate from this content the most important pieces, right? Because we want to pass this through another large language model to generate an image. And so this is going to be too much to feed into that next phase of a model that generates image. So we want to pass through another large language model so that way it can extrapolate the most important pieces and help us create the actual prompt we will use to be able to then pass that prompt along to generate that image. And so it's very easy. Again, all I have to do is, once I've received everything from our agent here, I'm going to click here and I'm going to use an AI again. So I'm going to go, let's just say OpenAI. I'm going to go and say message a model. And again, everything is pre-populated here. We have OpenAI, the resource is going to be text, and operation is going to be message a model because we want to just send a message to a model. And then here I'm going to go ahead and find a mini, probably just type mini to find the smallest model. And there we go. So next here, we need to pass in the prompt because remember, we want to take all this output and then extract only the pieces that we need and create the actual prompt, which are going to be used to generate the image. We are going to call yet another model to generate an image with the pieces that we need here so that the user is able to see the actual image in the front end of how they should look or how to complement the piece that I have shown to us. So here what I can do, I'm going to say something like this: based on the following styling description, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to pass the output here. So drag and drop and add it there. So now you can see, I'm going to just open here. You can see it says based on the following styling description. What is that? Well, it's this, all of this. And based on that, what I want to happen? Well, I have all the prompt. I'm just going to go ahead and pull it all into this Control V. So let's make this larger so you can see. So now I can say based on the following styling, which is all of this, extract only the key styling elements such as clothing type, colors, patterns, accessories, or overall aesthetic. And then using those extracted elements, craft a clear and concise image generation prompt, very important, that accurately visualizes the described outfit or style in a way suitable for input into an AI image generator. So now, if I go ahead and execute this step, we should see the actual output, which is going to be hopefully a nice prompt. We have all that information here. You can see the response. We have the content, key styling elements, right? All of this. So we're able to get the actual information. So footwear and sneakers and all of that based off the image and the description that we started earlier. And now that we have the actual prompt, which we're going to be using to generate that image, this is where we're going to take this prompt and pass through OpenAI again to generate that image. Now, there are different ways to do this. I'm going to show you how to actually use the OpenAI API in a request mode. So what I'm doing here, I'm going to click here. I'm going to find a request, HTTP request, and there we go. Now, the HTTP request allows us to request or send requests to a server somewhere, in this case OpenAI API server. I'm going to change this to post, and then I need to find the URL where we're going to generate that image. So where do we find this? So I want to go and say OpenAI API generate images. Don't go to the first one, go all the way to this one that says OpenAI create image API. Click here. This is what you will see. It should take you straight to your OpenAI API account or documentation in this case. It may take a little bit. So you want to go to images and under create images. Now there's a lot here. What I want you to focus here is that the URL that you need is this one, create image. So post, and then this whole URL ends with generations. Now they may change, but most likely not, but just copy this whole part here without a post. So copy that and come back here, and that's what we're going to add here. Okay, but there's a better way to do this. You can see here it says import CURL, curl. So if I go back here and go all the way down, this tells you the request body, all the pieces that you need to add in the request to generate the image. I'm going to make this smaller for us to be able to see what's going on here. Okay, that's much better. Under create image, exactly the same place we were, you can see here, you can click, we have Python. This shows you the Python code you would need. Node.js and all of that. So what you want to do, you want to click here and say curl. Then you want to go ahead and click here to copy this. This is really helpful because what will happen now is that you can just go ahead and import curl, and then all you have to do is paste in everything. So I'm going to say V like that and import. So now you can see all of the pieces, all of the fields now are filled out correctly. Well, we have to make some changes here. Okay, this is really helpful. So what's happening here? Well, first of all, we have the post method, and then populated, of course, the actual URL, the post URL, and we don't need to worry about authentication because then we have the set headers, and then we have the header parameter authorization. And if you go back to what we see here, you can see change this to Python, for instance. You can see these are the pieces that need to be passed along for this to work. Actually, we got to go back to curl to show you that these are the pieces that you need to pass along in order for this request to work. Authorization, we have bearer, and then pass the OpenAI API key. Okay, so remember I told you to have that OpenAI API key. Now this is the important part. Remember earlier I said for this to work, you need to go and verify your organization for this to actually be able to work. That's very important. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So this is a reminder. Okay, so these are the pieces, and then we can pass the model, and then the prompt, and the number of image is default 1, and the size of the image. So if you go back here, you can see all those pieces were added. So we have authorization for head parameter, the bearer. We need to actually add the OpenAI key, which I will show you in a second. And then send body, we have JSON. And then using fields, the model is going to be GPT image 1. So essentially, everything that we copy from here was automatically added here. So it's really, really easy. Now for the prompt here, the value says a cute baby sea otter, which is okay. And for the number of image is 1. I can just delete this because the default is still 1. Now the size here is 1024 by 1024. It's going to be a square image. We can change the sizes. And that's about it. Except we need to go back here and change this. You need to get rid of this and go and get your OpenAI API key that you had earlier and add it here. Okay, so I added mine. Make sure you have a space in between bearer and the actual OpenAI API key. Okay, there's gotta be space there. Okay, so look at this. Now I can test it out. You should get this to work. If all is good, make sure again you have your OpenAI API key, as well as make sure you verify your organization. It's very important, otherwise this part is not going to work. You're going to get an error. Okay, I'm going to run this step here. Let's make sure everything is good, because before I run this, I could run this to test it out, because I already have the prompt, which is a cute baby sea otter. But look what I'm going to do. I can actually, because the idea is that now we are receiving as an input the content, which are pieces of the prompt that we wanted to pass through here to create an image, to base the image we're going to be creating to, right? So I'm going to go ahead and copy this or pull this in. Let's remove this. And the value, I'm going to just pull that in and drag and drop and add it there. So now the value for the prompt is going to be all of this, which is what exactly we need to create what we need. Now, it may be a little bit too much, but that's okay. That should work. Now, if I go ahead and execute this step, it's going to go ahead, hopefully, and hit the OpenAI API. It's got all the things that we needed to have, and do exactly what we wanted to see it do, which is to generate the image off of these characteristics, these pieces of information that we pass along into our HTTP request. All right, so you can see here that it's kind of hard to see, but the image was generated, and because it's 1.9 megabyte of data, this is not the actual image, it's a different format. So we need to translate that into a different format that is better for us to see what's going on. We have all the pieces of information, and you can show data here. It's going to be too much. I'm not going to even show you here. Okay, so if I say, well, let's try show data, you can see we have B64 JSON format here. So it's gibberish, a lot of information that is not helpful at all. So what we need to do next, if I go back here, right after I get the image, because this worked, that's why we have a check mark, I'm going to go ahead and translate or parse or convert that image into a file, an actual image file. So how do we do that? Well, because of N8N, we have a node that does that. So I'm going to say convert. So convert to file, click there. So we go all the way down, move base64 string to file, click that. That's what you need. So now you can see we have B64 JSON string, and that's what we need to convert into something. The input field is going to be this one here. So I'm going to copy or drag and drop. So drag and drop and put it all there. So it goes in, goes to data, the first item of the array, and get this whole gibberish, okay, B64 format there, and then the output file is going to be data. So if I run this, it's going to go ahead and create the actual image. We can see it's a PNG, 1.5 megabytes. If I say view, you should see an image. Look at that. Very, very nice. So we're able to go from passing just a piece of clothing and add some description, and then get all that information parsed through to actually creating the image, hitting different APIs, and convert base64 the gibberish, long gibberish string into the actual file. Okay, which now you can see we have here. This is what we need. All right, so we're making real good progress. So now not only do we have the recommendation on how to style ourselves, we also have an image so that our users can see, oh, with that red shirt, this is something I could wear to look sharp and nice. All right, so we have all of the pieces working here. I'm going to make this small so you can see the whole workflow. So we've done a lot, but the last thing we need to think about here is that, okay, so once we have the actual file, as you saw, we want to show it in the front end. Now, the best way to do it is to abstract out the whole process of creating an actual file that we can show in the front end. And the easiest way would be to save this file somewhere. You could use Google Drive or any other service out there. But I'm going to show you how to use Superbase, which is a database, a very versatile database that allows you to do all sorts of things. But they also have storage where we can save images and files and so forth. So that's what we're going to do. So if you don't have an account, go ahead and sign in, create an account with Superbase. It's really easy and easy to navigate. And once you log in, you're going to go to dashboard and you're going to have, in this case, your organization and you're going to have your applications, or rather your projects. So I have one created already and all of that. Now, if you look to the left here, we're going to see storage. Click storage. I have a few. I have files, which is empty, and I have images. So this is what I've tested before, and I'm going to show you here. These are images that I created from the previous application. So this is what we're going to do. What you need to do is to create a new file, or bucket as they call it. So you can click here and say images X just to differentiate, but I already have that. The important thing to remember is that you need to set this to public bucket. And of course, says buckets are not protected. That's okay for our example. So make sure it's public bucket so that anyone can read without any authorization. Okay, so I already have that. I'm going to do that, which is this images or image. So whatever you name it here, it has to be exactly the same when we start looking at that and using that. Okay, so make sure you have that. Now, the thing here is we need to create the actual node to do so. So right after convert here, I'm going to click here and do another HTTP request, because it's going to be much easier and to navigate everything. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to pull that piece of information, which is in this case, this converted file, the actual image, and then save into our Superbase database. So essentially in our bucket, which you already created called images. Now, how do we connect to Superbase? Well, it's very easy. We need to pull in a few pieces of data, of information to connect to it. First, you need to go to API keys like that. Now, you will see something like this. Okay, remember, you go to your project, you can see the name, my project name is RAG course, and that's what you need to be. And then you need to go to API keys, the anon public key, and then we have the service role key. Now, what we want to do is reveal. But first of all, let's go back to the stylist here and set things up. So I'm going to change this to send image to Superbase. And then I'm going to change this from get to post. Right. Now, what is the URL I'm going to add here? The URL I'm going to add here is going to be the URL of our project. Where do I get that? Well, under your project, you need to go to actually project settings, and then you go to database API, and then this is your project URL. This is what you need. Now, if you try to use mine, it's not going to work. You're going to have an error. Okay. So you're going to have something similar to this. You copy this and come back here and you paste there. This is the project URL. We need to go in and get to the actual database storage. To do so, I'm going to paste it all in here, make this larger. So what happens here is that notice that we added this all the way to co, and I made a mistake. This has to be /. Okay, that's very important. So to co, this is what we added earlier. This is your project URL. But then we want to say we want to go to storage and go to v1, and then we go to object and then images. And once we get there, we're going to create a relative path, and just to make sure that it's always different, we're going to use the $now function. What this will do is going to create a timestamp, which is now whenever something is uploaded or saved. And then inside the name of the file is going to also be the now timestamp. So it's going to be a bunch of numbers of timestamp when this happened. This is going to be good because each one of these items is going to have a different name. Now you can make this a little bit better, but this should be fine. So make sure we have exactly as I said here, and then storage /v1 /object /images. This is the name of the storage that we created. If you said files when you created that storage in the backend of Superbase, then this should be files. So it has to be the same name that you gave in the storage in the backend of Superbase. So what we'll do next? Well, next we're going to set headers because we need to pass in some headers so that we can authenticate ourselves. So the first one is going to be API key, copy and paste. API key just like that. Now, what is the API key? This is when we go back here. This is when I'm going to API keys, click there, and you want to get this service role, make it larger, and click reveal to copy it. This is very important. Do not share this with anyone. So I'm not going to reveal it, but you reveal and copy it. And that's what you take and add it here. Okay, so I added mine. It's a very long string. There's more there, so add yours. That's API key. And then I'm going to add another field here, say add parameter. And this one's going to be authorization. So it has to be exactly as you see here, authorization, uppercase A. And then here I'm going to say bearer, like this. And then I'm going to pass the same API key, the value that I added here. This is actually wrong, like this. Okay. And then make sure there's a space there and paste again API key that we had there. So make sure there's just enough space, one space in between, and add this value that we added here, which is the service role secret. Okay. And next I'm going to add another parameter to say, okay, what type of content is this? So this is going to be content type like this. And then the content type that is coming in is images /PNG, like that, exactly like this. Okay, so we continue. Next, you check the send body. Then here, I'm going to click here. This is going to be a N8N binary file. Very important. Click there. And the input data field is going to be data because that's how it's going to come in. That's exactly what we have here. So make sure all these pieces are in place in order for this to work. Okay, let me go ahead and say execute this. If all goes well, we should see, looks like please send image to, so image in node, bad request, parameters. Okay, make this smaller. I'm going to go to HTTP. The issue was the bearer here wasn't correct. Let's make sure that this says image, not images. Let's go ahead and continue. All right, so somehow, because the format here, you can see that we have images now, and I changed this to ISO, then it worked. So maybe there were some issues with some authentication, some formatting here. But in your case, if this is actually working, that's fine. And you can see that I changed from expression to fix or fix to expression. So you can see that this actually is working. That's why it's all green. So when I do that and I go and execute this, it goes ahead and actually generates the image and the ID of that image. So if I go back here and go to storage, you'll see under images, we should see the latest image, which is this image here that is being created. So this is the latest. The timestamp is correct. Okay, so I'm going to delete all of this so I can actually show you that this is actually working. Okay, so let's go back here and execute it once again. We should see this bucket should have images or an image in a little bit here once it's generated. Okay, there we go. And you can see, you go in, you can see the timestamp for this directory and then click and we should see that image again. A little bit of work here. It's working, but in your case, it should have worked. I just was having some issues. Again, make sure that the values are correct for the API key, no spaces, anything, the bearer, and everything is good. Make sure again that the send body, N8N binary file, and input data fields has to be data. All right, so now we have this working. So we are able to save our images to the Superbase storage. And the great thing also here is that you can actually get URL, copy that URL. You can see that this URL shows us the exact image that we saw earlier. So this is good because we can use this and show that in the front end. So next, what we'll need to do is we need to put everything together and then create a payload, a JSON payload, so that our front end is able to show the recommendation as well as the generated image, which now we know we have the link of that generated image. And so I'm going to add here yet another combination, another node to combine all these pieces. But this is going to be a code node because you can actually write code to combine things, which is really, really handy. So what do we want to do here? Well, we want to be able to pull in most of these pieces and create the URL that is generated. Because if you see here, let's click here and I have the generated URL to the image. And I want you to pay attention on how this works. So you can see we have the actual path here goes all the way to storage, v1 object, and all of that. And then we go to public images, and then we've got all of that. So this is the format to get to the image. We need to know this because we're going to use that to pull all that piece, that the URL as well as other metadata, so we can send back to as a response to our user interface. Okay, so I have the code already, so I'm not going to bore you with all the details. So let me open up so we can see everything. So here's what we're doing. We're getting the output, extracting the recommendation output that we got earlier from the agent. So if you go back here, you can see that the agent gave us the recommendation, this guy here, or rather this agent here. So we're going back and pulling that information from the agent, which we're going to then put as a field in the value in a JSON payload. And then we're going to add the generated URL for this image, so that way we can pass that to the user interface. All right, so let's go back here, and in our code, that's exactly what we're doing. And now here, the Superbase base URL. So it's going to look like something like this. Remember, you will have to change this to your Superbase URL, your project URL. This is mine. You have to change that to yours, and you know how to do by now. And then we have storage. You've seen it before, v1 object and public. Okay, and so then here we pull in the JSON key. So what does that mean? Well, it means you can see Superbase responds or sends us the key field, which is images, and then the timestamp, which is essentially exactly this timestamp to give us the path to the image and then the actual image. That's why you have /timestamp /timestamp. Now, usually you want to create a better URL, better image names, but this works for now. This is not user friendly. You would want to create a better one. And so what we do now here, we pull in that path, the image. So we're getting, again, images, and then get that whole path, and then we append that later. So now we are creating the actual JSON, which will have all the pieces that we need. In this case, the output, which again is going to be the output, the recommendation from our AI agent, right? And then we're pulling in the image URL, which we pass in the base URL, which is this, and then the path, which is going to be this. So now we're literally getting the actual path and the image that was generated so that we can show it. Okay, we put all that into a JSON format, and then we say input.all. This is going to output the JSON. Let's see if this works. So now from here, I can go ahead and execute the step. I should see a payload which would contain all these pieces, which is, voila, you can see we have more than one. Let's go to JSON here. You can see that I have, make this a little bit smaller. You can see we have the key, the ID, which we extrapolated to get the image, the path to the image. And then we have the output. This is the output, again, the recommendation. As you see, for your work party tonight, your plain red short sleeve t-shirt can serve as blah, 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 and all of that. So most importantly, if I scroll all the way down, I should have a field that contains that URL. So this is the URL. If I copy just that URL, is the URL to the image. Essentially is exactly this. So I'm going to paste that, and you can see just refreshed is the same image. So every time we run this, it's going to go ahead and extrapolate and create, of course, a recommendation. And at the end, we're going to have the actual payload, which is needed, which contains the output, the recommendation, as well as you see here, the URL to the image, so we can show that. So this is good. This is pretty much everything that we needed to put together here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy this, because this is the final payload. So I'm going to copy this whole thing, okay? And let's go back to Bolt.new and say the same thing, that something has changed. The final output has changed. I want you to parse the pieces that I need you to parse and show the final result. So I'm going to say final web hook payload response now looks like this. Oops, so it's not getting everything. I just want to make sure to select everything. Like that, okay? So I have the whole payload. So what I want to tell it now is that go ahead and pull in the output for the recommendation, and for the image to be shown, it's going to be under image URL. Now update the code so that the UI shows the recommendation, which is under the output field, and show the image, which can be from the image URL, this guy here, image URL field. Ensure that the front end works well and is modern as well as responsive. Okay, so let's see now that we have the backend set up, and let's change the code. That way we can hopefully see everything actually working, which means not only showing the recommendation, but also showing the image so that the users can look at the recommendation, the styling recommendation, and see the image, how they would look like. All right, seems like everything is good. Okay. Error handling and everything. Let's go ahead and refresh this. Now I'm going to come back here and making sure that I say save first, and let's go ahead and execute the workflow. Go ahead and reconnect. Okay, so there we go. Looks very nice. AI style consultant. We're going to change a few things later, but okay, let's go ahead and describe here. I am going to a fun party tonight, and I want to look my best. Most people at the party are extremely stylish, and I want to feel like I fit in. Please help. Okay, so now we're going to pass in an image of our shirt and go in. Look at that. So I'm going to go ahead and pass that along. You can see this should be working. So it is analyzing, now is going through the process with our AI agent, do what it needs to do, hitting the OpenAI again, and now is requesting, posting, generating more information through OpenAI, generating the image that is. And our app at this point should be, look at that, I like this, getting style advice. So things are working, so it takes a few moments. Next, it should go and convert that base 64 string, I should say, to an actual image file. Front end still looks great, it's doing its work, very good. Okay, so it went ahead and saved things to the database and went and did all of that, and let's see if this worked. So you can see now processed image, and I click here. So it looks at the processed image, very good, and this is the actual AI processed image that shows exactly how it looks like. Now I don't like the way this looks like. I want to make sure that it looks larger so they can see what's going on. Okay, view full image gives us the capability. So full image, look at that, very good. It's very, very nice. Okay. All right. I love it. I really do. Okay. So we have that working. And on top of that, we have the recommendation from our AI agent, in this case, our stylist, AI stylist, who tells us exactly what to do, evaluation of colors, formality, fit, and the conclusion. And ladies and gentlemen, you can see this works. We were able to, of course, save the pieces of images, or images in this case, to Superbase, and then generate that URL so we can show in our application here. Okay, now what's left to do here is to look at maybe make this user interface a little bit better. Okay, so let's go to Bolt.new because I have created something similar before. I'm going to take screenshots of what I already have to prompt our Bolt.new, our agent here, so that we can hopefully create something similar. All right, so I have a few screenshots here of my previous AI Stylist website, okay, which I like. And so this doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want, but I just want to show you how to do these things. Okay, so I have these screenshots, and I'm going to just tell our AI, tell Bolt here to look at these screenshots and mimic what it sees for our website. So please make sure the UI looks like the screenshots. It's slick, modern, and still responsive. Don't change anything that's already working. Just focus on the UI. Okay, let's go ahead and see. Yeah, that's it, really. Like I said, the backend is already done, and now we're just being a little bit picky and trying to get things to actually work and hopefully look better, because I kind of like the way this one looks. All right, looks like it went ahead and did just that. Let me go ahead and refresh and see. Reconnect. Okay, looks really good. I'm not a big fan of this, but that's okay. So let's see if this works. I'm going to go ahead and execute again. And come up here and do the same. Let's get this case address. And then make sure to go and analyze. We go back here. You can see that the workflow is working. Front end is doing exactly that. This is really good. Let's see. Okay, so it looks like everything went well successfully. Let's check it out. Okay, everything went well. Style visualization, very, very nice. And tell me about this. Styling recommendation, absolutely. Final thoughts and all of that. And it shows at the bottom here the images that we actually generated or uploaded. So if I wanted to upload a new one, I can go ahead and upload, let's say, this one here just to see. And help me look good tonight. And make sure to go like this again. Okay, so I think I just did that already. Let's see. Yes, that image was added. And I'm going to delete the previous one and upload this one this time. Okay, so I execute. And we're going to do the same thing. So analyzing. Okay, so it's done. Look at that. We have a nice shirt. All is good. And style and recommendation. It looks very nice and very, very, very good. Of course, you can prompt your AI, your agent, to make sure that you can say, okay, I'm a female, I'm a male, and go from there. But this is good. This is good. This is a real good start. I hope this was helpful. I hope you are seeing the power of leveraging AI tools. We're using N8N, this automation tool that whether you're a programmer or non-programmer, you can leverage to quickly to build backends and use Bolt.new or any AI coding tool out there so that you can quickly prototype and build something that is actually useful. I could definitely use some styling in my own life. But again, if you want to get deeper into understanding how all of this is built, using these tools to build automations, but also to build full-fledged applications that you can actually deploy and start making money from them, you can go ahead and check out AI Foundations, this awesome, this vibrant community built by these two amazing humans, and they asked me to join them to help the community by creating courses and be part of the community helping out. So there's Classroom here with a lot of different courses, a lot of different things, as well as this vibe coding agents to app application or course that I've created, which actually goes more into details of what I have just shown you here. If you want to learn more about mastering agents with N8N, they have a full course on that. And it's a vibrant community with a lot of things going on, as well as a full calendar of things that are happening. And I would love for you to join. There's a link in the description. Go ahead and join. Show them some love. And you'll see me hanging out there and helping other members. Okay, thank you so much for your time. And I hope this was helpful. Till next time, be well.